Thank you very much, all of you, for being here on a Sunday morning when I know we'd all rather be asleep, to be honest. But not today, obviously, of course.
Yes, no.
Or perhaps I'm just projecting my own shortcomings onto you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start from Wayne at the end. I'm going to ask you to tell everybody who you voiced in the programme, even if it's a few of them, because I know some of you do quite a few voices.
Yeah, I play Dad. Don't be horrid, Henry! And... this me. Aerobic Al, Beefy Bird, I don't know, and lots of other sort of guest characters.
Okay.
I'm Tamsin. I play Mum. Don't be horrid, Henry. I play Fang. I do Fluffy. I do Great Aunt Greta, Prissy Polly. We all do lots of different ones.
And Tamsin does loads of animals. She does all the comedy animals. I'm Sue, and I'm Moody Margaret. I get you, Henry! And Demon Dinner Lady, and yes, loads of we all play.
You're Actress Andrew?
Yes, we all play loads of different characters. Yeah. And a Great Aunt Ruby. She's one of my favourites. yeah.
And I'm Emma, and I play Miss Oddbod, the headmistress, and also Perfect Peter, and whoever else comes along.
And I'm Lizzie, and I've got a wormy brother called Peter. So I hope you know who I am. It's my show. I play Horrid Henry.
Does that come as a surprise to people that actually Horrid Henry and Perfect Peter are both played by women? Is that a surprise? So you've all been working on the show right since the very start. It's been going for a really long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
12 years.
I think it's longer.
Yeah.
That's 12 years. You've done 250 episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so tell me about getting the job first of all, because you have to. Do you have to audition for Lucinda? Is it and the team of people who get you to play, or what? How does it work? Because obviously you have an agent, and the agent will put you up for different roles, and they'll say, well, we want you to. I mean, so in your case, did they come to you and say, we want you to come and voice a boy, or did you play for different roles, or how did it work?
So you get a call and you say, there's going to be a new cartoon showing. We can't tell you much about it, but you come on up and have a go at one of the parts. And so I came up and auditioned for the role of Horrid Henry. And for that, you have an idea in your head of what he might sound like, or because you know what he looks like from the books. And then you go into the studio and then you start to imagine, okay, is he going to sound cute? Is he going to sound fun? Maybe I could make him a bit more cheeky. And then you get direction from the team who are also in the studio who are making the show. So I had a few auditions for it. I think it was two auditions. For Henry, and they had all of us in the cast as well.
Yeah, because they wanted to hear our voices together as well, because you might have an idea and think, oh, that works, and then you hear all the other characters, and then you realise, oh no, we've got to mix it around a bit. So we all had about 2 auditions together. Yeah.
And in terms of the animal voices, in terms of Fang and Fluffy, where did you find those voices from? How did you find your inner hamster?
Where did you find those?
I've just always done animal voices since I was little. And I also used to do a lot of foreign voices. And my parents were very, very polite people, and they used to get visitors who would overstay their time. And I would run to the local telephone box, which was just nearby, with a threepenny bit, because there weren't mobile phones in those days. And I'd ring them up and pretend to be a foreign person needing to be picked up from the station. And this would allow my dad to say to the visitor who was overstaying their welcome, oh, I've got to go and pick someone up from the station. May I give you a lift back into the centre of town? I just did it a long time, really.
And how does it work in terms of, because I know you're doing a lot of multiple voices. Do you know in advance which voices have been assigned to you, or do you kind of pitch in for them and have a go at trying different voices?
We have a bit of competition.
Yeah.
As soon as there's a
guest
part
characters,
going,
yeah.
especially Emma and I. I'll do it. Yes, yeah. So if there's a part, then we're all sort of vying. We all want to play the extra parts. Yeah.
And when you, I mean, I guess over a period of time you get to know each other really well, don't you? I mean, you are a little kind of ensemble group now, aren't you?
We are,
We're
yeah.
a family.
Family.
Well, yeah, 12 years, 10 years, 12 years,
Yeah.
5 series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're lucky
Yeah.
because we record the episodes all together, which is fairly unusual.
Yeah.
I think.
Quite often when we've done events here and people like from Pixar or Disney or some of the sort of different shows like Peppa Pig, for example, the voice cast don't necessarily know each other at all because they've recorded their voices on their own. But you do them as a sort of an ensemble as well, don't you?
We do, yeah. And also, we know each other so well. We'll often say, "Oh, that's a better one for Sue," or something.
Yeah.
They say,
Yeah.
Aiden's not here. Aiden's the voice actor. We may say, "Oh, Aiden's be a better choice for that character," or sometimes people suggest me if they want someone old.
We do get on ridiculously well
Yeah.
as well. We've
Yeah.
known each other for such a long time. Like, as soon as we find out that there's another series, like, oh, yay!
And also, I think when you're in a studio all together as well, you really bounce off each other. So
Yeah.
it's much better, ideally, than being in your own, on your own doing lines. When you're all together, we get told off sometimes because we
Yes.
laugh too much
Yeah.
when we should be working.
Our lovely director, Lucinda, has to rein us in.
She does. I literally walk to a recording session and think, right, I've got to be good today. I've got to be good. Today I'm going to be really, really good. And then as soon as I see these lot with mischief in their eyes.
And we're not allowed to stand
We're
next
not allowed
to
to
each
stand next to each other. We have to sit on different sides of the studio.
And how many episodes would you record at any one time?
I think our record was about 7 or 6
Yeah.
in a day, maybe.
Wow.
Well, I think that was a
Yeah.
record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eight.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I think
We
our
do
voices
know
were
our
a bit
characters
tired.
so well, though.
And do you have the
Yeah.
scripts in advance, or do you actually see them for the first
No.
time on the day?
Just on the day.
We have a
Gosh.
read through first, so that we can get to know what we're doing, which is
Yeah.
really handy because then you,
Yeah.
you know exactly how the story's going to go and any questions, and then we just go in and
And is there any one of you who is particularly bad at kind of like laughing during the having sort of for no reason at all that stops the take, or are you all very well behaved?
We're all well behaved. I think Sue's probably the cheekiest.
Yeah. I get the blame.
But I get away with it.
And Wayne hides in the corner and makes faces at us.
Yeah,
all.
he's the
So-
instigator.
Yeah, he's that boy in the class that kind of is really naughty but never gets caught. And
Yeah.
I'm the one that does it once and gets caught every time.
And when you're recording it and something goes wrong, like somebody mispronounces a word or whatever, does the whole kind of scene have to be done from scratch, or will they just stop it, or do you just keep going and they'll edit it? How does
We
that
can
work?
do what's called pickups, which means you just pick up that one line or that one bit of mistake.
I'm sure it doesn't happen very often with a seasoned cast of professionals. But should it happen, that's what you do. You have a pick-up.
Yeah.
And for those
Sometimes
of
the whole scene will be redone because the energy in it is too low, or we've gone too fast.
and do you have a sense of ownership about your character in terms of other times when you look at something and say, well, I don't think Perfect Peter would say that. I think he might.
Yes.
Do you find yourself doing that?
And we'll
sometimes?
sometimes swap lines because when you hear it out loud, you suddenly realise, oh yeah, oops, that is more of somebody else's line. So yeah, that does happen. Not very often, but it does happen because we
Because
do all
Lucinda writes
know-
them so
yeah.
beautifully, of course. So, but,
Well, they are written so
Lucinda's a
beautifully,
wonderful
yeah.
writer. She
Yeah.
writes
Yeah.
our scripts and then directs them. So
Yeah.
she's just this multi-talented person.
Yeah.
We're going to come on to
Amazing.
Lucinda a little bit later on. We're going to grill her later. Before we watch another episode, does anybody want? I've got probably time for like 2 questions. If anybody wants questions for any of our voice cast here.
Absolutely over the moon excited, and I was trying to tell friends, and they were like, "But you're a girl. How's that possible? I don't believe you." I was so excited because he is just the most fun character, and he can be a little bit troublesome to his brother and others, but it's just honestly it's just a dream job really because he's such a wonderful. There's so many things to Henry. You know, he's not just naughty or good or this, that, and the other. He's just a normal, fun little boy. So it's brilliant. And to work with these guys, amazing. They're just
We've got
wonderful.
time for
everybody.
one more question. I was going to see if anybody.
I started when I was in secondary school, actually, so the bug didn't bite when I was in primary school, but started when I was in secondary school. We used to do lots of musicals there. So that started then, and then I went on to like a National Youth Theatre course in Wales, where I was from. And then I went and studied at university, and then came out of university, and then just tried my hardest to earn a living as an actor. So secondary school was when I
Okay.
started, so 15 years old, maybe.
Okay, we're going to whiz on through.
Probably about 12, I used to do a children's pantomime that was done by children, and that was fantastic fun.
Very good.
I think that, yes, I've always done it, always wanted to. Even when I was in school, I'd put on little shows in the at lunchtime. Kind of, yeah. So it was all that I ever really didn't think about doing anything else. Yeah.
Pretty much the same. I was always doing pantos and things like that, and I used to do impersonations in the schoolyard and get sweets.
And do you still get paid by sweets now?
I hope not.
What about you?
And I just grew up doing loads of silly voices all the time, and I didn't go to drama school. I went to university and did something else, kind of related, English. So all about voices, but so it just shows you don't have to go to drama school, you don't have to do a certain route, you can just have fun and enjoy having fun acting in school and pantomime and things like that.
Right, well, we are going to meet them again a little bit later on, but a big thank you to our fabulous voice cast. Thank you very much. So I'm going to start with you, Dave. From your point of view, because obviously the original stories were based on some very famous books about Horrid Henry.
Yes.
And there were some visuals that had been created already with the books. So did you go to those visuals, or did you start completely from scratch?
No, we took whatever we could from the books. So Tony Ross was the illustrator who illustrated the books, and he drew Horrid Henry and Moody Margaret, and we took his designs, but we had to adapt them to make them suitable for animation.
Because he always used to say to you, didn't he, that every time he draws a Horrid Henry cover, if you look at your Horrid Henry books, they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
So you had to choose one that was definitely Henry.
Yeah, the essential Henry, and stick to it.
And as time has gone on and more characters have been introduced and there have been more settings, you've had to sort of try and create this. I guess you are the kind of the custodian of the world of Henry now, aren't you?
If there was a new character, we had to design it. And design it in a way that it fitted into the Horrid Henry world.
And so how would you do that? You would look at what was written on the page and you would then sort of work through sort of how that character might look and what they might wear. And
you would find out what the character's personality was. Rude Ralph had to be chipper and big smile and cheerful, and Moody Margaret. Well, Moody Margaret was designed. Yes, you had to design the character to do the job that they were intended to do in the script.
Yes, Moody Margaret had to look bossy all the time, didn't she? But also we had to think of what the worlds were like, because the worlds isn't really in the book. If you open a book, you see a picture of the characters, but you don't really know what his house looks like or his school or all of that. And so Dave, I think, is probably the only person that knows where everything is on the map of Ashton. Sometimes we have to ring Dave up and say, exactly where is this thing that we're writing about, because you've got it all here.
And do you have that written out, Dave, or was that all up in your mind, in your head?
Well, we build up a library. You can remember a lot, but you can't remember everything.
And I guess the thing that people kind of take for granted is that everything has to be designed. You know, the lamp, the duvet cover, the pillow, the walls, everything needs, has to all be represented, doesn't it?
Everything that you see on the screen, because it doesn't actually exist, it has to be designed and drawn and coloured and placed where it should be.
And Lucinda, I touched on the fact that there were the original books, but there was a point where the books ran out, weren't there? Because obviously there's only so many books that any one person can write. So at what point did you start taking over writing the stories completely originally?
So we adapted, I think, 30-odd stories, and then we took off into all sorts of different ideas, because once we'd set up the characters and we had them sort of three-dimensionally, and we sort of knew what the characters would do and the sort of ideas that might have. So that when you just saw King Henry IX was just an idea that we thought, what if he does think that he's going to be King Henry IX, because there's a King Henry VIII. So, and then you take the story from there.
And how do you come up with the different ideas? I mean, you've had to do 220 additional to those first 30.
Yeah.
How do you come up with the different ideas?
We usually come up with a kind of central image of something happening. So the TV, for example, someone said to me, Henry hasn't had a new TV in the whole series so far. So when we were doing a new series, we thought, we'll do an episode where he gets a new TV, but then, of course, he doesn't get to keep it because Mum doesn't want to have him to keep it. But people suggest ideas. We get some people like you will write in with, just just say, what if Henry did this? Or someone will tell me a story. When my children were little, they used to come back and tell me stories about what they'd done at school or what their friends had done. And then we have other people, and I have a great person called Toby. I don't know if Toby's here today, but he comes up. So Toby and I sit and we eat a lot of chocolate, and we come up with mad ideas for the things that Henry might do.
And literally, could you be like walking around the supermarket and you'll see something, that'd be a good idea for Henry?
Yeah.
And in terms of, we'd heard that on a really, really good day they could record 8 episodes in a day. How many episodes could you write in a certain amount of time?
We write them pretty quickly, because what we do is we plan out the story first. So we work out what's going to happen, and then we decide what they'll say when it's happening. So you map it out scene by scene. So maybe you have a page or 2 pages with the ideas, number 1 maybe to 15 of what's going to happen. And then you can write. So actually writing it doesn't take too long. But you have to sit down and write it.
What about animating it, Dave? How long would it take normally to animate 1 episode, say?
They're animated in China, and they have very big crews, and they, all in all, it will take 4 months, 5 months.
Because we start 1 episode and then we do another. So to do a whole series takes about 14 months, 15 months. We're pretty quick at it now.
Very quick. But if they're working in China, Dave, will you write stuff down for them, or will you film stuff for them? How in terms of, do you communicate your vision?
Well, I send a brief by email.
And they're sending stuff back to you that you can look at, are they?
And they send stuff back all the time, which we comment on until it's right. And the studio that you use has done nearly all of the Horrid Henry series. So they understand the world. So they're very good.
Yeah, they're very good.
We have got time for 2 questions. 1 question for Lucinda and 1 question for Dave from the audience.
It is. It's what we call 2D. It's all drawn and animated. But the drawings are then scanned into computer, and all the colouring is done on computer.
Well, I think it's not too difficult, because Henry is, to me, he's like a normal boy, really. So all the sorts of things, but he's a bit mad. He thinks that he can do all sorts of things. So when he turns into a dinosaur, for example, I don't know, do you believe that he's really turning into a dinosaur? No, so that's sort of in his imagination. So I think a lot of the ideas that we do can be in his imagination, or he's pretending something's happening, or he thinks it's going to happen and then it happens differently to how he thinks. So it's not too difficult. And also the other thing that really helps me are the people you met just last time round, because they're so brilliant at all their voices. And so when I'm writing a script, I can hear their voices. It's as if they're whispering in my ear, and they're saying, this is what I would say about this, and this is what I would say about that. And that's fantastic.
We're going to watch another episode, which is called let me just remind myself what it's called, actually. It's called Planet of the Grapes. A big, big thank you to Dave and Lucinda for being here. Thank
you. Miss Lovely gave us all one of these so we could remember the sweetness of giving.
And you think I'd be interested because...
Oh, come on, Henry. Even you're not that horrid.
Ha! What a bet!
Henry, come back!
So Henry's grabbed Peter's candy floss stick and he's run round the corner to hide with it.
I know it's horrid, but I just couldn't resist.
Now, what Henry can't see is the little old lady with the dog that wheezes is coming up behind him, and he can't see it.
Oh, it's okay. I'm going to give it back to him.
Can anyone guess what's happening? Yeah. Do you think the dog is eating? Yeah, you're right. The dog's eating the candy floss. You both look to camera.
No!
Okay. And then the dog that wheezes goes.
She's good at that.
And Peter gets really cross and he stamps his feet and he shouts.
Ooh! How dare you! How dare you eat all my candy floss and then lick your lips and up as if you hadn't done anything at all. Horrid boys. Oh.
And can anyone guess what the dog does? Because it's called the dog that wheezes. So, yeah, you've guessed it. The dog lifts its leg up and... What does Peter say?
Serves you right, Henry.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. Worm.
So that's the beginning of the episode, okay? So we're going to skip forward. And can anyone guess who's going to be in detention in this episode? Not Henry. Yeah? Shout out if you know. Not Margaret, actually. It could be Margaret, because she's pretty naughty, but it's not Margaret. Peter. Okay. So Peter's heading for detention, and we're getting to the next scene, and we're starting off with... Oh, you've been very quiet, Margaret.
I'm trying to... Fingers on lips.
Trying to be good. Okay.
Yes, I'm trying to be good.
Then. They're in the classroom. Sorry, they're in the classroom.
Had Peter got himself a detention?
Yeah, I reckon he did.
That was something.
Yeah, it was.
Why would he do that? I don't know.
All credit to him. He must have been very angry about something.
Yes, he must.
Because Henry hasn't told anybody what happened, so Henry's feeling a bit guilty.
Reckon he's trying to get himself a reputation.
What do you mean?
Reckon he's going to end up more horrid than his big brother.
Ha! That'll never happen. He's not called Perfect Peter for nothing.
Oh, we could find him another name.
Oh, I need a new name.
How about Impertinent Peter?
That could work.
So that's when I was talking before about things going on in Henry's imagination. That's Henry's imagining that they're having that conversation. Now we're back in the classroom again.
Thank you, Brian.
Oh. Impertinent Peter. How do you fancy living with that, Henry?
And then Henry goes through in his imagination and he starts to imagine that Peter is standing in front of all of the teachers. So he's in front of Miss Oddbod and Miss Lovely and Miss Battleaxe and Madame Tutu, and Peter's walking along the line of them like this.
From now on, I'm in charge. I say what goes down and what goes up. And what goes sideways. We'll start with detention.
Oh, certainly, Peter. How about a double detention?
Is that all you've got?
Triple detention.
The octuple detention, Peter, if you know what octuple means. I know what octuple means, and I'll take it.
No one's going to be interested in you anymore, Henry. It'll be all about Impertinent Peter.
I ask for extra homework and never do any. I've been late more times than anyone can remember, and now I've smashed the detention limit. How does it feel to have all your records broken, wormlet?
You talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you, Horrid Henry. Or should I say, not so Horrid Henry?
Gotta go.
So Henry's a bit worried about what's going to happen next. Justin, do you want us to go to the episode now? Yeah? Or do you want us to do the next bit? Okay, so we've got one more scene to do for you. This is quite fun because everyone's going to change their characters now. So just see if you can spot who's who. Maybe when you do your line, you could say which character you're playing.
Okay.
Because we're with the best boys now. So what happens here is when Henry says gotta go, he runs off to Peter's classroom because Peter's getting ready to go into detention. So Peter's with the best boys and they're helping him get ready for detention. So as he runs in, you've got Peter sitting there and Sam and Gordon and Ted.
So this is Ted.
This is for you, Peter. Gordon, it contains a packet of chocolate biscuits, a bag of super sticky Twizzlers, and a tin cup. Plus 2 pairs of garden gloves.
Sam.
And a change of underwear.
they're packing a box for Peter to take into detention with him. I think they're doing a bit too much, but go on, that's good.
A one-person tent, complete with a small mallet and a spare tent peg, a waterproof jacket and trousers, and a head torch and 3 pairs of gloves, plus a watering can.
A watering can?
Just in case.
Oh, you're not going to need all those things, you know.
Peter.
Oh, as long as I'm going to do detention, I might as well do it properly.
You're going to need something else too.
What's that? We were very thorough in our preparations.
Yes, I know you were, but he needs knowledge too.
Knowledge? He's got lots of knowledge already. Yes, he knows loads of things. Loads more than you do.
Yeah, I know that, but this is a different kind of knowing. This is called insider knowledge. The kind of thing you can only know if you've had detention many times over.
Ooh.
Look, just remember, don't sit in the middle of the front row, because that way Soggy Sid can see everything you're doing. Don't sit in the back row, because he'll watch you even closer. And don't sit in the seat back left in the 3rd row, because it gets too much sun. Oh, and don't sit in the 4th chair in the 2nd row, because one of the legs is shorter than the other. And whatever you do, don't look at the clock.
So the bell rings and Peter puts his box under his arm and he leaves. And so we're going to let you see the episode now, but aren't they brilliant?